It's the Dadnarok After Show. Now, here's Chris and Sean.
Welcome back to the Dadnarok After Show. This is Sean.
And this is Chris.
And tonight we're talking about Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, Season 2, Episode 1, A Son for a Son.
Dude, I'm so happy to be back in this world. This was so cool. But before we dive into this, guys, I see there's a few of you here already. If you don't know who we are, we cover all this stuff. We like talking about all this. June's been packed, so we've kind of had to pick and choose what we wanted to go with. House of Dragons, what we're rolling with. If you're watching live, we are full interactive, no paywall. Say what you want to say. We'll bring it up, add to the conversation. Yeah, look at that. We got some merch at the podcast. We were a podcast originally. Now we're, not so much a podcast anymore. Why I'm talking with this accent, I don't know. But yeah, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and join us typically Mondays. If you are new to our channel, you don't know this, we are dads. Life happens. So we try to just be flexible with us. We appreciate that. And if you're watching recorded, drop a comment. We'll go ahead and respond. So let's just go ahead and let's dive into this.
House of the Dragon. Man, we're back in Westeros. Back in the old, everything old is new again. It does feel good. And you know what feels good is that last season of Game of Thrones was so and I don't think anybody really knew what to expect from House of the Dragon, but season 1 really was kind of a crowd pleaser. People were like, okay, this is prime time Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is back. We don't have to worry about Daenerys and Jon Snow and all that crap that worked itself out at the end. And we are back. And you know what? Season 2 starting off with a bang.
Dude, this was great. I mean, just sitting back and seeing the dragons. And the dragons were actually a step back. It's like they were there, but it was cool seeing them, but I wasn't focused on them. There was so much going on. And one episode alone, getting us kind of caught up with essentially what happened in 2 years. Because I think we did a 2-year time jump.
Mm-hmm.
So,
it's kind of crazy. Christopher says, y'all throwing me for a loop. Team Black. Team Black. Oh, we know what team you're on then, huh?
Oh, burn it to the ground. Oh, I'm with you, Christopher. Oh, I'm Team Black. There's no green in this blood behind,
You're next to the green, though. Maybe we should switch spots.
Well, I got green, I got red there. I got green on my other shoulder. I had to flip it around. You can't see it just because of the angles, but that's all good.
What's her name? Rhaenyra. It's been a while since the last season, so the names have kind of fell out of my head a bit. Yes, Queen Rhaenyra Targaryen. That's who leads Team Black.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And it's Alicent for the High Towers for the green. Yeah. I was like, hold on.
Right, okay.
What the hell are you talking about here?
Look, forgive us. We're not like professionals here. We've been doing this for a while, but sometimes we're gonna mispronounce or even forget the names of these characters.
Feel free to correct us.
Yeah, that's right. Look at the hair on my head and look at the hair on his beard.
Oh, I am clearly a white beard that's going to battle. I felt personally attacked when Cregan was talking about, I've got plenty of white beards I can send down there for you. I'm like, hold on. Oh, this is messed up.
You are one of them wall old timers.
Yes, I am. One of those that pulled rocks. I thought it was it was my honor to guard the wall before it became a punishment.
What I did notice is that the Stark that's at Winterfell, I noticed that he had ice. He had the Stark sword on his back. He actually, at first, when he was talking to Rhaenyra's son, and I apologize, forget his name too, but he promised 700 of those old whites, those old white beard men, to go down to King's Landing. Yeah. And when when Rhaenyra's son returns to Rhaenyra and kind of collapses in her arms, he says that it was bumped up to 2,000. So apparently there's a little bit of sympathy ringing from that Raven letter that they received. So he bumped that number up a little bit,
so he gave them the white beards plus a little one that weren't quite. They're more your beards.
Yeah. So that's a good thing. Even though
they're seeing the wall though.
Oh yes.
And saying how they built the wall and what it keeps out. And how they've never seen, referring to the winter again.
Right.
That was also so cool.
It was nice seeing it intact and in all of its glory once again, and somebody giving it the reverence it deserved. Because a lot of times you didn't see that. You still see like remember Tyrion like pissed off the side of the wall, and they didn't give it much respect, but deserved a lot of. Hey, it protected that kingdom for many many years
Oh, I
until it
love
just
them
couldn't
like
anymore.
standing at that lookout and looking down.
Yeah,
And I just remember that episode of Game of Thrones when they were storming the wall and you had the giants and everyone coming to the wall and you had Jon Snow going through like the actual like the gate at the bottom and fighting
yeah.
him down there. That was one of the very few episodes that I've watched multiple times because it's just I love that one. But we're talking about a prior episode.
What surprised me this episode was King Aegon. I thought maybe he'd be like a Joffrey prequel, just
Okay.
kind of a sniveling jerk
Just a
towards
little
everybody.
snot. Yeah, just yeah.
Once he got in the seat, though, he actually took the time to I don't know if this comes like, he was actually nice to the people of the realm. I people, when you usually see people of, royalty kind of, especially in shows like this, they're kind of mightier than thou and holier than thou and
Yeah.
kinda
Well,
looked
in this
down
world
upon.
too, we've seen it. Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen it in this show even. I name dropped Joffrey, but he was almost too quick to help everybody that
Well,
came into
yeah,
the
because
room.
that farmer came and said, "You took so many of my sheep," and he's saying, "I need so many of them back to be able
Right.
to get through the winter." And he's like, "Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll give them back to you." Then Otto came back. It's like, "You give them back to him.
Yeah.
You have to give them back to everybody, and we have to feed these dragons."
And it didn't take much convincing either. Even the Smiths, saying like, "Hey, we'd like our money up front for us doing all this work for you." He was like, "Yeah, yeah, that seems fair. Okay. Okay.
Okay, yeah, we'll
Yeah,
pay you up front. Or I was waiting for like him to say something like, "Okay, we'll give you half up front and half upon delivery," or something like that. He's like, "No, here, just basically throw money bags at him."
yeah." I think he might have said 10%, but even then, I mean, I'm sure that was a big expenditure that the king and the crown wasn't ready to kind of throw out there. So, and you're seeing a little bit of tension, possibly. This may be a storyline going forward with we've got the Hand of the King, his grandfather,
Yeah,
who
Otto
is
Hightower. Yeah.
Alicent's father. He's been Hand of the King forever and ever. He was Viserys's Hand of the King. And who is the guy that's almost like Littlefinger?
Clubfoot, Lord Larry
Clubfoot.
Strong.
I mean,
I love his character.
that whole scene, you could tell he's starting to whisper into Aegon's ear.
Well, the minute that took place, my wife didn't watch Game of Thrones. We've
Alright.
tried a few times to get through the first season. For some reason, life just gets in the way and keep on stopping.
Yeah.
So she's not really 100% familiar with like Littlefinger.
Yeah.
So when this scene took place, I looked over at her and said, "He's going to remove Otto, isn't he?" I just wanted to see what no, I didn't even look at her. I just
Yeah.
said it aloud, and she responds like, "Yeah, he's gone." I was like,
Well,
it's only time before he removes them because of those little whispers. He's been the canned over and over and over again, and he has
right.
his hand in everything.
What's interesting about that is, like, how where does Alicent, fall in that? I mean, she has her own issues with her dad and her dad as the king. Does she fall with, going with Aegon? But, that the Clubfoot is also kind of a loyal guy in her corner too, like, he's helped her out quite a bit.
Oh, he loves just looking at her feet. Yeah, he loves those fake feet pics.
Oh, I forgot all
He's
about
got that.
that.
He's got that foot fetish going on.
Thank you for reminding me about that. This
No,
episode with her and the knights, it kinda washed all that away 'cause,
dude,
they
talking
were
about a
getting
jarring
down.
way to get us back into this world. I'm sitting back and I'm like, she's grabbing the arms of the chair. I'm like, what the fuck?
Sh
Holy shit!
she had her O face on, man.
Oh,
She was
yes, she did.
she was, enjoying herself.
Oh,
And then
oh man,
later wait, hold on, there's another thing where she was like, "Hey, we can't do
we
that
continue
again."
doing this.
Well, what I took that is like, because they weren't having, like, actual intercourse during that first scene, I think, like, basically, the king is dead, like, he was siring children for her, right? Like, she was having his kids, and now that her king is dead, the one that was supposedly getting her pregnant, how's she gonna get pregnant? Like, you know what I mean? Unless she was doing something on the side, you know what I mean? So, they can't have actual intercourse anymore.
But
So,
we
that's how
see
I
it
took
later
that.
in the episode, though. They are.
I know immediately they were being hypocrites because that's what that kind of the name of the game and their family, they're all a bunch of hypocrites. by the end of the episode, she was just like, whatever.
Well,
I know
she
it's a
did.
rule I set up, but
I
it's out the
mean, when her
window.
basically her daughter-in-law walks in on them all, traumatized from what she just seen, which we haven't talked about yet.
Now she's double
Uh,
traumatized.
she walks in on, she didn't even bat an eyelash. She's like, "Oh, she's getting some," but I gotta sit here and I'm like,
Yeah, well, she's always been kind of, I don't know, she's kinda half psychic and, like, half kinda spacey, like Luna Lovegood from the Harry Potter series or something, just kinda, like,
well, she sat
not
there
all
and
there.
she when she made a comment to Aegon, "I'm scared of the rats," and
Mhm.
all of the handmaidens were terrified. Like, there's somebody in that when he said, "Oh, don't be afraid," or something like that. He basically brushed it off. I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh, he just made a mistake."
yeah.
It's like, he screwed up.
Well, do you think she had a prophetic dream about the rat catchers that eventually come and
I
because
have a
that's what they were
feeling
posing as, rat
Yeah.
catchers.
I have a feeling that she had some type of insight of something. She may not have known what she was
Yeah,
like
yeah,
she felt was coming. Like, she didn't know if the rat meant one of her handmaidens,
yeah.
or if the rats were literally the rats that were gonna basically let these people into the castle.
Um, we've got once again Damon, played by Matt Smith, Damon Targaryen, big the Team Black there. He's a big player there. He has some, so he's got some loyalty still in King's Landing. I was surprised that he was. I mean, I knew this character was ballsy, but he still rose up to King's Landing like
Like it was
like he's
nothing.
still
He just
there.
walked in there. He dropped money on a gate and he brought him right in. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay."
And it had to be because it was well established in the first season how beloved he was by, like, the criminals and the underworld of King's Landing. I
Yeah.
mean, his own Kingsguard, he was the leader of the Kingsguard, the creator of the Kingsguard, and he still has a lot of loyalists in that group, apparently. So, I guess it wasn't as ballsy as I thought because he probably feels well established and feels pretty
Oh,
safe.
yeah, he probably has no problem going in and doing it.
But still, I mean, that is, takes some chutzpah, man, especially with everything that's going on right now.
And they were going after a prince. Like, he walks in there and
Yeah.
he walks in and tells them, like, he doesn't say what he's doing outside the gate. He lets them know what he wants to do once he is in the gate. I'm like,
Mhm.
that's something I would let them know while I was on the other side of a metal gate, that they can't attack me and I can still get away just in case they sound the alarms.
Right.
But these two, like these two, he winds up talking to, was like, yeah, well, I'm game. What?
One thing that I don't like about his character, and maybe I do or don't, but I get it. That's a part of his character is how duplicitous he is with Rhaenyra because it's like he seems like he has her back
I don't think
whenever
he
he's
does.
in this. That's what I'm saying.
I'm
Like
starting to get the feeling that he has his own intentions in mind.
when
Not
she's not in the room, he's doesn't. I mean, he's like it doesn't seem to be. He's more for himself, right? That whole conversation that he had with, I guess the ant character, right? Is it
Yeah, the queen
Rhaenyra?
that wasn't though. Rhaenyra, yeah,
Yeah, where he was
Rhaenyra.
just like,
Yeah,
she's been, balling and not doing her duty. It's just like complaining about her. And yet later in the episode, when Rhaenyra like enters the room after finding her son's remains pulled in the fishing boat, she is obviously distraught. But he goes up to her. It seems like in a caring way, or maybe just because he's trying to keep his voice down. But it's like there's a different Damon when she's in the room or when she's out of the room.
hmm.
You could clearly see that.
Well, he wants the throne too. You can tell he wants that. He wants that seat,
Yeah.
and even he went as far as saying, did he say, "I'm ordering you to do this"? As
Oh, right.
Rhaenyra, yeah, and she's like, "Well, if only you were the king," and walked away.
Right. As she walked off.
She's a bigger badass than he is. I think this world needs to be more afraid of her than Damon.
Oh, I mean, just the act of her escaping the King's Landing the way she did last season was pretty baller. I
Yeah,
mean, you know, she held a lot even then she held a lot of restraint where she had all of them dead to rights with her
yeah,
dragon.
she could have
She
ended
killed all
this
of
whole
them.
thing right there and then. Game
Yeah,
over, and would have been, a whole other story would have been written, or
yeah.
another, rebellion would have taken place for, the Targaryens to go to hell. But yeah, I mean, it's
Almost almost mirrored on, Team Green is Damon's kinda counterpart. I know they're family, but this one's kind of a younger version is Aemon. It's
I'm growing to love Aemon.
yeah. A
I am
live
re
patch.
that conversation there was a scene between him and Kristen Cole that they were just sitting around a map, and they were
Yeah.
putting coin on just kinda like as, like, placeholders of what they should do and everything. That was I love that. I think that may have been one of the best scenes of the show in that episode. It's just that quiet, real, essentially real conversation. There was no, it
Mhm.
was just those back and forth. What should we do? There was no political in it at all. They were like, okay, this is how I'm going to handle it,
Right.
and then we got to get someone else on board to do it. And then Grandpa walks in,
Right. Kinda ruins the party there. What I did notice was what's the knight's name again?
Kristen Cole.
Kristen Cole. When, Aemon was kinda digging at his own mother, saying, like, she's being a fool, you could see him he kept quiet, but it's like, "You're just digging on my woman a little bit, like, that's not your pla" Yeah, he
Yeah,
probably
there
wanted to
is starting
slap
to
him in the
become
face.
feelings or something that is starting to take place between the two that
Yeah.
nobody else knows of, which is going to throw a whole monkey wrench. 'Cause it's going to come out. How is it going to come out is a whole different story.
I kind of forget, these older kids, Aemon, Aegon, the older girl, the mother who had the trauma this episode, are they actually Viserys's kids, or they are all those kids from Cole?
Well, they're blonde.
Right.
Cole, he isn't uh Targaryen at all. So he doesn't have blonde hair. So I think they're pure Targaryen.
Okay, so they are Targaryen. Okay, yeah, that
Yes,
makes
that's
sense.
my understanding. Yes.
I couldn't remember how he figured into all that because I feel like didn't Sir Cole, actually father.
Yes. And the two kids, the two I wanna say it's Rhaenyra's kids, the 2.
Those were Daenerys' kids, right? Was one of
Yeah,
them the one that died on the dragon last year?
yeah, because both of them had dark hair, and both in there they're everyone's saying they
Oh, that's
can't
right.
be
And the other one,
Targaryen.
the older brother of him was the one that went to the wall this episode.
Yes, they're saying that they couldn't be pure blood Targaryen because they're lacking the features.
Yeah. See, I loved that they did hey, last season on Game of Thrones, House of Dragon before this started up, but I mean, to, like, recap an entire season of Game of Thrones is I mean, to do it in, like,
In,
2
like,
minutes is
2 minutes, well, it's kinda
pretty
yeah, talking about
ridiculous.
rushed.
Yeah. So, I do appreciate that, so but I'm gonna be remembering stuff as we talk about this season. Um, I just, I don't know, as far as characters go, anything else you wanted to bring up about this episode?
Uh, we have to talk about, uh, what is it? Blood and Cheese.
Yeah. The
That
2
whole
characters
thing.
or yeah, the
Well,
whole
that
thing.
the storyline, I mean, the 2 characters, the whole 'cause we talked about, actually, Damon going in and paying him to pull off this heist. Because
Yeah.
basically what happens is after they find out, Rhaenyra's son is dead,
Mhm.
they have to go ahead and then she comes back and she's like, she wants I mean, hence the name of the episode, Son for a Son.
Yeah.
She's like, "I want him dead." And I'm sitting back, I'm like, "Okay, that would be a Game of Thrones thing to do." I'm starting to like this character. And no character is safe in this world. If we've learned anything over the years, everyone can die at any given moment. Even if you're
Yeah.
sitting on the throne or on the toilet, you're going to get a arrow through your chest.
Right.
A different throne.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking in the back of my head, is he going to die? I mean, there was a part of me saying it would be fantastic because it would be right in line with what I'm used to.
Yeah.
Since I haven't read the books, I was not prepared for
Mhm.
what we got. You're
Yeah,
going
pretty
through
brutal.
it was did you know it was coming?
No, I don't know. I don't know about these books. I think it maybe be just 1 or 2 books, and they're very sparse as far as the actual it's not, like, written out like a full story like the original Game of Thrones books are. It's almost like like a textbook or a history book, where you're just kinda,
Ah,
like, reading events as they're written down by one of those people in the tower, what Sam ended up being. What do they
yeah,
call it? They have a name. But
scribe.
basically, yeah, scribe. This is basically like a Westerosi textbook that has been turned
Okay.
into a,
So it would be a hard read. You have to be diehard into this world, but you want to sit down and
yeah,
read this. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting down, I'm watching it, and they're going through and they're getting up and they finally go in there. And I'm like, hold on, this isn't the right room because we see the princess and we're like, uh-oh. And when I find out what they're gonna do, my hands go in my head. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
not gonna happen.
Yeah.
And my wife, like I said, my wife is new to this world. This was her first big holy crap moment. Because
Did she watch the 1st season?
yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Alright.
I mean, if I remember right, this is really the first one that really got me too. Because I mean, even I was, nothing threw me in the first,
Yeah.
besides the ending. The ending of the first season with the dragon and when the death that took place there,
But
that
even then,
may
it
have
was kind of like a battle. It wasn't really treachery. It was like 2 kids that didn't like each other and had a bad past that were going at each other.
yeah.
This was more like, oh, this is a little more brutal.
Yeah. Real quick, guys, I see there's quite a few of you here. If you're new to us, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Go
Mhm.
ahead, comment, bring something up. If we missed something, if there's something you specifically want to talk about because something you liked about the episode, let us know. We'll dive in on as well. We're kind of
Or
just
correct
talking
us.
about, yeah, we're just kind of going back and forth and just kind of talking overall about it. So we may miss a detail here and there. Chime in, no paywall. We'd love to hear from you.
We are gonna miss a lot of details here and there.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
so let us know.
But yeah, the walking up there with trying to capture the rats, and they go into that one room and like where actually Sir Christos and Aegon, not Aegon,
Yeah, it was
Aemon
Amen. Yeah,
were
where they were in
sitting.
the
So you've
room
seen the
earlier because
map.
he took the coins off
He
it.
took the
Yeah.
coins off the map, so he starts
Right.
dropping down actual traps there, and then they move on and they find the kids, and which one is the boy. I'm like, he's like, look up his dress. I thought it inappropriate immediately. I thought of Jurassic Park. Just looking up their skirts, see if they're how stupid.
Oh, forgive we are kids of the late '80s, early
Uh,
'90s, so
uh,
that's what informs our brains.
but
Um,
dude,
yeah,
what?
I was surprised that he caught her as far as just like because what did she do? She picked the son, but
Thinking
was she like she do that because she was trying to like think 2 steps ahead, or did she do it because she just wasn't thinking and just went
no,
into a
I
route she
think
thought?
she did it because she doesn't want to supply him with an heir. Because
Oh,
think back to the very beginning of the episode when she's in there and she's like, "I want him to study. I want him to do this. Don't interrupt his stuff." And he's like, "Don't tell me what to do. I am taking him with me. He's gonna spend time in the actual throne room." So I think the relationship between those two is more you do as I say. And this is kind of almost like her way of getting out of that almost.
wow, you and I read that totally different because I thought she had picked the boy thinking like, "Okay, well, they're gonna think I'm picking the incorrect one, so they're gonna take the other," but really I'm, like, thinking 2 steps ahead of them. But the look on his face when he read her face, he said, "No," like, she's telling the truth. I thought it was because she was trying to pull one over on them, but your line of thinking is that, like, no, he actually she wants to get rid of
Well,
the son out of the
I
2.
think we may be on this when it comes to her pointing, I think I agree with you.
Yeah,
But I also think that with her pointing immediately, there was no hesitation. She went
right.
right there, which I would think, and you're thinking they thought it's like, oh, she wouldn't sell out her kid or son that quick.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fact that she did it, I didn't see any remorse. I seen scared. I seen they picked up her daughter and ran. But when it came to like, and it could be chalked up as trauma.
A trauma or I read her character as, like, on the spectrum. Like, she's always been kind of, like, in the middle distance. I mean, even last season, even I don't know if it's the same actress that's portraying this character from last season, but she's always been kind of, like, where everybody kinda looks at her as the weird Targaryen, you know what I mean? So it's like, I took that as just kind of a part of her character. Yeah, that's what's interesting about this whole thing is, like, it could be any and all of this or none of it.
Yeah.
You know, as far as how you read, and interpret that, but All I know is, I mean, it's a big effing deal, and,
Dude, when it
Team Green and
happened,
Team Black
I was
pretty bad.
so happy that they pulled away.
Yeah,
Like, because and maybe in season 1 or 2 of Game of Thrones, they may not have pulled away from that shot. And it would have been a
right.
some just the shock and awe of, like, what they were going for and what they wanted to go ahead and portray.
Or it would have been like, you wouldn't have seen it actually going down, but there might have been, like, a soft focus with the guy's arm moving, and it might have been, like, more sound effects and stuff, like, it would
Oh,
have been
dude, they gave
nastier.
us sound effects.
I heard it, but yeah, I was just,
I
you're right,
was
I think they pulled it back just a little bit. It could have been
yeah,
gorier.
it could have been real rough. So I was
Yeah,
glad. And then when it cut away, I can't wait for episode 2 because
yeah,
man, they just poured gasoline on a fire. Shit's gonna burn, and
yeah.
it's gonna get really good. Now, I'm not. Do we know? I know there's gonna be a season 3, so we can't get. We're gonna start getting into the weeds. There's no
Is there
way they.
though? Like, because I know they're stretching out kind of the Dance of Dragons, which is this whole thing is called, I know
It's
they're
already
kind of
been approved
stretching it
for a
out.
season 3.
Oh, it has been, okay.
Yeah, it has been approved for now. Beyond that, I don't know. I hope they stop at a 3 because how much can they pull from this without thinning the story too much where this everything lacks.
I know, it's like, right now, this is good because this is a big deal that happens in a world that's familiar to us. I know this is back in time, but it's still kind of the Westeros we remember with all the cities. You got the Wall, you got King's Landing, you've got, the Riverlands and stuff. The
Yeah.
setting seems to be the same. It's just we're dealing with different characters and people that related to the characters that we know from the old show. But, if you go too far back in time, then you're having to go, like, to Valeria where everything's different. If you go too far in the future, then it's like a totally the landscape's all changed as far as, like, the wall being down and stuff, like, everything would feel almost too different, like, would it still be Game of Thrones? Because 'Cause you'd be missing that interplay between houses and families and who gets
What
along,
if
who doesn't.
what if they went forward and showed the Northerners and the Starks rebuilding the wall?
Well, I think that was the game plan for a show around Jon Snow, and yeah, but they scrapped it. So who knows if they'll ever go back to that idea? They could. I mean, who's to say that 10 years from now, 15 years from now, where Kit Harrington isn't really doing anything, and he looks a little bit older, a little bit wiser, and they
A
could
little bit
kick
of
up a
gray
brand
beard.
new. Yeah, maybe, maybe he would look the part a little more, right?
That's funny. I
So
can actually put on an actual cosplay, and now I
Black
can
Glove,
be a gray beard.
yeah, get you a sword.
Dude, is there anything
Um,
that we missed that's
One other
pretty
thing I
big?
wanted to bring up was the sea snake, which is, Rhaenyra's husband,
Yes.
the old master of ships. I don't know if he still is no, I guess he wouldn't be because he's with Team Black now. But he ran up, he went to the guy that apparently, pulled him out and saved his life last season. This seemed to be kind of it seemed like an important moment where we were introduced to this character. Do you feel like he'll be somebody we'll be looking at into the
I
future, or
think we're gonna see more from him because now he said, "I owe you."
yeah, otherwise that scene is just kinda pointless, right?
Yeah. So I mean, he even handed him the blade that he had forged for his son. So there
Mhm.
is already some type of there's more there than is being led on in this episode.
There's more there, yeah. You know what, when he first pulled out that hilt, for some reason, I was thinking, like, he fashioned like, a killer badass cane because he was kinda walking around with, like, a wooden cane. I was like, "You got some money, dude. You don't need to have a wooden cane. Well, get yourself something fancy." That's what I thought it was, but no, I guess it wasn't.
Oh, what else was there? Oh yeah, the Mel Saliner, they call it the White Worm, the one that was caught in the ship
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
provided the information. We actually provided all the information to Otto in the first season, come to find out.
Right.
And now she's like, I'm not working for anybody. I don't care. I don't have any feelings for anybody. I'm on my own here. I'm trying to survive. So
Yeah.
she feeds information out to Damon that he was able to get into King's Landing again. Uh, I don't feel like she's long for this world. I think something's going to happen.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so too. Oh, speaking of which, I mean, she provides, I guess, some kind of information that sends Damon on his way to King's Landing. it cuts away because the cheese character, he asks, "Hey, what if we don't find the Aemon kid?" And it pulls away before Damon gives an answer. Do you think that's what his answer was? Like, as a second
As a
option
fallback,
was to get, the heir, get the little kid? You think Damon is that treacherous, isn't he?
Damon is, but the fact that they went right to the kid, like, they didn't even hesitate. They see the kid and they went right at him. It's not like, okay,
They didn't have a discussion about, like, well, can we take him as like a
because it was
potential.
clearly not the one with the glass eye, the blue eye, and the scar and the blonde hair. It
Yeah,
clearly
yeah.
wasn't him.
It
So
wasn't
they
the
knew
target,
that.
yeah.
So I mean,
But the
and they
way they
didn't spend
went
any
to him.
time looking.
Right.
So there
Yeah.
had to have been, yeah, there had to have been a plan B,
Right.
and that would get rid of his heir. So now he would have no heir to the throne itself.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I've seen this argument. I don't know. Like, really, I don't know what side of the fence I fall on when it comes to
Well,
that.
the direction was clever enough to pull away before we got a definitive answer on what to do as a plan B, from Damon, so only time will tell, but he's the character to watch. He was the character to watch last season as far as his treachery and never quite knowing which side of the fence he's falling on. His loyalty just seems to himself,
I
but
want Rhaenyra to put him in his place. I really want. I want to see the strength out
yeah,
of her that we know that there is. And now that her son was killed, and now that another kid was killed, there's gonna be, I mean, lack of a better way of saying it, hell to pay. And definitely when she
yeah,
finds out that he killed the wrong kid, I think there's gonna be penance there.
yeah,
I think he's gonna have to answer to that because she didn't want anyone dead. She wanted, the kid, the guy that killed her son dead, and that's pretty much
yeah.
it.
Yeah, and
So
Rhaenyra just said, "I want, Aemon Targaryen," and she didn't even, like, specify. I would assume I want his head, I want him dead. Maybe she just
yeah,
wanted him there, wanted him kidnapped. Maybe she wanted to do the deed herself, or maybe she wanted to have a conversation with him before, like, setting him up on fire with a dragon. Like, you never know. I don't know. It was like, it was read in a certain way, but she said it kind of, in a somewhat vague way. So,
yeah, and that was really her
um
only line of the whole show.
yeah, yeah,
That was
besides
really
crying.
it, which
Yeah.
is crazy that you can have this presence in the show, and she had one line.
I'm just glad we're back here at Westeros. Not only are the visuals top notch, the storytelling is top notch, the friggin' acting is notch. I mean, these actors are just like swinging for the fences, man. They're so darn good. There's nothing that takes me out of the world as I'm watching it. There's no second guessing the writing or anything. I'm just so along for the ride, totally believing each character and their motivations, and I just can't wait to see where they lead me.
One last question: will Alicent make it through the season?
I
Because
think
she
so.
is not really integral to the plot anymore. She was season 1, but she isn't
Mm.
now, because if Otto is removed, what is her real reason there? And she already mentioned when she's at the table, everyone is undermining what she's saying.
I think she will survive, and the only reason I think so is because that's the only that tie that binds between Rhaenyra and Alicent, their history together. They're almost the focal points of each team or each family. They are even if they're kind of, with Alicent being kind of in the background because her kids and her father are kind of the decision makers right now and people in
Yeah.
power. There's still such a link, and even the editing of the show goes back and forth between her and Rhaenyra, and I just think that's the only thing tying this and making it more interesting than just a couple of warring families. If you lose her, I think then it just becomes just 2
Hatfields and
warring
McCoys.
families. Yeah, where it's like they just hate each other and they just hate each other, and that's that. And it's like this tie that binds is somewhat interesting because it's a connection point to what we viewed in the first part of the last season as far as their lives that led up to this.
Okay, one last question. You think she'll split off with Cole and Laris, Strong, Clubfoot? You think it's possible that those three can split off and there would be a third faction within this show?
I think there will be some internal treachery
Kind of like the Iron
within.
Island within, you know,
R
in
Right.
that mindset.
I don't know if it'll go so far as them, like, totally splitting off themselves or being even considering themselves a separate faction, but I think there may be, um, whether it be with, what is Otis or Hightower, the dad, like, kicking
Oh,
him out
Otto.
of the
Yeah.
yeah, Otto Hightower, kicking him out of his position, or something along the lines of, like, with Damon or not Damon, well, kind of Aemon being such a wild card that maybe they just feel like they can't proceed without knowing his ins and outs,
They
maybe
want to
his
keep
loyalty
them
is in
close
question.
so they can actually be tactically ahead of them.
Right. So there may be some internal strife, but I don't know if it'll go so far as them breaking into factions.
Okay. I mean, that's just little things that are popping into my head as we were going. I mean, it's fun talking through these things because I think I find this part more fun because it's like, okay, I got things watching in my head. I'm like, okay, I got to get these out to somebody and then see if, bounce them off. But
And bro, this is one of those shows where at the end of the episode, I'm like, "Damn, I gotta wait a whole week." And it's like a lot of these shows aren't like that, where it's just like I watch it, I kinda get my little fill, I'm like, "Okay, that was an interesting episode," and we just kinda talk about it.
well, it
But
feels so big. It feels
it
like you're
does.
in the world. It's not just like you're
Yeah.
watching something. I feel like
Yeah.
I can be walking down the streets, of King's Landing, worried that I'm gonna get, my head taken off for some stupid reason.
I know as soon as the credits rolled, man, I was like, "Oh, man." Like,
Oh, I
alright.
and
But
I have to. Do you watch to the end and watch the breakdown of the episode, and then the
no, I always turn it off. I guess I
oh
should stop.
I got yelled at because I actually hit stop, so I had to go back, fast forward through the whole thing so we can watch the breakdown of the episode and a
Yeah.
preview to next week. So it's always worth it.
Well, speaking of next week, we will be here most likely next Monday, a day after the premiere. The Game of Thrones House of the Dragon premieres every Sunday night on HBO and Max. So be sure if you're watching it, join us afterwards. We'd love to talk about it. And we mentioned before, you are invited to comment and like live while we're talking here. There's no paywall. You don't got to pay us 20 bucks or $1.99 or whatever for us to post or comment up here. We did it earlier with Christopher. See, there he is. He'll throw
He's
me for a
back.
loop. Yeah. We could do that anytime for any guest. So please, by all means, next time you join us, be sure to communicate, interact with us while we're live. And if you happen to catch the replay, we're thankful for that too. Be sure to comment. Chris is always good about replying to your comments in the kind of the messaging sections and comment sections underneath the video. But yeah, until then, we will be back for season 2, episode 2.
There we go. And I'm gonna say, I'm gonna go classic line: "Winter is coming."
Winter's coming. See ya.